Okay, hey everyone. We are just waiting for Graham to join the call. And the moment he is in, we will get started with the analysis. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. I'm just going to share this on YouTube very quickly and on Twitter as well. So let's quickly do that. Hey, here with the link to our live market analysis. Join us for an overview of the markets and where they stand now with Graham Tennant, our financial analyst. Okay, so that is that. We now wait for Mr. Tennant. Not sure where he is, everyone. So while we wait, I don't expect me to give you an analysis, that's for sure, because I don't want to be put on the spot like that. That's just it's not going to work. It's not going to fly. You guys will crucify me, and we don't need that. So we shall wait for Mr. Tennant. Anytime now, Mr. Tennant would be great. We are there on Telegram. There we are on all the other WhatsApp groups. I hope you've all joined our WhatsApp groups and our Telegram groups. Links are in the description, so please make sure that you are in those groups. Graham has been doing a number of charts for us. A couple of other guys have been providing some great charts, people like Saurav, Paul, who's unfortunately just left due to his stance on WhatsApp's new privacy terms and conditions. Jay as well provides some great charts. Cornell also can get active with a couple of charts. We're still waiting for Mr. Tennant. I see he has found the link, so now we just wait for him to come on in. And once he comes on in, then we can get started and get straight into it. I can tell you before Graham comes in, I see he has seen the link, so I'm pretty sure he's going to come in very soon. But what I can tell you is, everyone, that this episode is proudly sponsored by Haven Global. And I'm going to take you to their website very, very quickly. Let's do that. Mr. Tennant, welcome.
Hi there, James. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Apologies if I kept some of you waiting. Just recovering from...
No worries. I understand load shedding has hit South Africans nice and hard today.
It has indeed. But yeah, the generator's running. We're back up and running. So yeah, good to go.
Great. Well, I just wanted to show everyone our sponsors for today. Haven Global. Haven Global are an OTC desk online. They're based in Dubai and Sydney, Australia, and have presence in New York City as well. They are the world's first online OTC digital currency trading platform. They're a great team. They're an advanced team. They're doing great things. So if you are a trader or an investor in either Bitcoin or ETH, and you want to be trading large quantities OTC in an OTC manner, then I would suggest Haven is your place to go. Click on the link in our YouTube description. It'll take you to their website, havenglobal.com. You'll get personal, interactive support. You'll get personal, interactive conversation and dialogue with the team as well. And I'd really encourage you to check them out if you are a large-scale trader. Havenglobal.com are our sponsors for today. Graham, considering load shedding has made us pretty late today, let's get straight into it, man. Wow, I can't believe that the last time we did an analysis was actually October. So much has happened. Now, this recent pullback, is this something that people should be worried about, or is it just a little cool off before the next leg up?
Yeah, so, I mean, as you said, a heck of a lot has happened. I mean, we definitely don't want to miss the whole bull market before doing another market analysis. But yeah, epic times in the crypto world. Look, even at these levels, I'm still pretty bullish. Obviously less bullish than I was when we originally broke out of the triangle. less bullish than when we had big sell-offs in March last year. I mean, those are really the opportunities to pile them. So definitely some more restraint is required at these levels if looking to enter into the market. But yeah, if you're sitting with a decent amount of Bitcoin, I think there's still some juice left in this run. So yeah, I definitely haven't switched completely bearish. But yeah, obviously when we are driving 200 kilometers plus down the freeway, we need to be taking some precautions. So yeah, but we can dive into some of that psychology in more detail.
Take us through what charts you want to look at today.
Sure. So I'll definitely take us through the charts, but I think it's also worth at this stage just talking about some of the investment psychology and investment principles that one should potentially apply when we're seeing such a rampant bull market like we are, and potentially where Bitcoin fits in your overall investment scenario. So, but yeah, let's start with the charts, and I'll add in some of those concepts as we go. So let me just share my screen. You'll need to enable that for me, James, if you don't mind. I don't know about you, but I've had record numbers of people that have been messaging me, phoning me, asking me generally the same questions. Is it time to buy? Is it too late? Where do I sell? And it's amazing. I sent out that meme in our group with the guys queuing up to, I can't remember exactly what it was, queuing up to buy Bitcoin last year at 3K and there's no one there, and then queuing up to buy now at 30K, and there's not enough stock to go around. So that's just the psychology of the market. But
it is it's an incredible thing. I know. I mean, I'm seeing all kinds of people come out of the woodwork asking me on Twitter, WhatsApping me, and I just, I say, look, you've got to be very careful because, it depends how long you're willing to hold. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah. So maybe, I'm keen to actually start some of the conversation there. So in my view, everyone should have an allocation in their investment portfolio to Bitcoin, and even into crypto. Some of the alts, I would say Ethereum, Monero is a privacy coin, but you're definitely Bitcoin. And I think it's worth talking about how Raoul Pal puts it. He says that Bitcoin is a life raft potentially from a failing economic system. So I think it's worth looking at Bitcoin as not just a pump and dump, fly by night concept or currency, but it's potentially here to stay, and it is providing a life raft from the excessive money creation that we're having from a financial system that's potentially failing. So if you can in any way ascribe a percentage to that scenario playing out, you should have some Bitcoin in your portfolio. You should have a life raft on your Titanic, and depending how big you think that percentage is, you should underweight your exposure to Bitcoin. But I think it's imperative, even at these levels, if you've got zero Bitcoin in your portfolio, it's not financial advice, but I think it makes a lot of sense to have some exposure to Bitcoin so that you do have that life raft, because it is a truly unique asset to potentially hold. And as Warren Buffett says, you want to concentrate your holdings to a specific asset when you have an edge, and you want to diversify when you don't have that edge. So yeah. I definitely think that the edge was available when we were at cheaper levels. 6,000 was a level that we spoke about a lot last year as a potential buy zone. That was really the opportunity to jump in and really be aggressive. And that that opportunity is not what it was now sitting at 38K. But yep. But having said that, even at these levels, I definitely think it's worth considering an allocation of some kind to crypto, but not to the same weight of aggressiveness that you did have potentially last year. A legitimate opportunity to enter with real aggression and conviction.
Absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, it is phenomenal to think that here we are sitting at $38,000 per Bitcoin, when a year ago we were around about that $6,000, $7,000 level. It's remarkable that what we all hoped would happen has indeed happened.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's jump into this chart. So I've got the big time frame up here. It's a 3-day time frame. Can you see that clear enough on your side, James?
We can indeed. Yeah, it looks great.
Yeah, so this was the big symmetrical triangle that we banged on about extensively at the end of last year. Here's your blue buying zones. That's around about the 6K level, between 6,700 and 6,000. And that was an area that I had identified for some time as a potential buy zone. We then had the corona virus panic and sell-off, and to be able to pick Bitcoin up at $3,800 just sounds ridiculous now when we look, and it's actually done 10x, because we're now sitting at exactly 38. So
yep.
Yeah, really remarkable move since those levels. Yeah, and this is where we sit at the moment. I think one thing that's also interesting to point out here is if we look just briefly at some of the price action in the previous bull market, you can see that some of the pullbacks that we got were exceptionally big. If we do a quick little assessment from top to bottom, you could start to measure these sell-offs. That was a 40% sell-off. This here was a 36% sell-off. This was, I think, also in the region of high 30s, a 33% sell-off. So those are really big market moves, and we're seeing a lot smaller contract or sell-offs this bull market. And I say a lot smaller, I mean, it terrifies, especially those only used to traditional markets, to talk about a 20% price drop in a matter of days. But there's definitely a greater maturity to this bull run than there was at previous times. And I think one of the main drivers here is the appetite of institutions to step in and buy the dip. So that, that's what I think is happening, is that you've got these really big players sitting on the sidelines waiting to enter slowly into the market, and every time there's a 10% correction, they're really jumping all over it. And the almost electric fence reaction is quite incredible. It drops 10% and then wham, it's straight back up. So we have had a little bit of a more a deeper dip the last week. I think we started that drop on the weekend on Sunday. But yeah, it's quite fascinating, some of the price action that we're seeing. So let me just drop into a slightly lower time frame. Just one move back here. So this was my original price target. So these blue lines here, this line is the height of the triangle. So that's just projected up from the breakout point, and that gave an original target of around $25,000. So that's when personally I started to say, well, look, we could be potentially running out of some steam here. That's when I bought some put options. I've spoken about that on the group. And that was really designed to lock in some of the profits that had been made. But yeah, I think this is just an illustration of the bullishness here, where when you do have extreme bullishness, the price does tend to run straight through traditional price targets. So that's what we are seeing. But yeah, we are starting to enter a bit of a danger zone where a protracted pullback is becoming more and more likely, that, the more that price does run upwards. So yeah, let me just drop into a lower time frame here. We can have a look at some of the more recent price action. Okay, so let me just highlight one or two things here. So these wind-ups here are really good opportunities to enter the market. So if you are still sitting on the sidelines, these are the type of patterns that you want to see developing and provide good opportunities to actually enter into the market. So you can see that we've got these symmetrical triangles, and those are really good signs of continuation. And then the price structure started to change a little bit, and now you get more of a rounding top to the sell-offs. So it's no longer just consolidating sideways, but you're starting to see different kind of nature in the price action when you start seeing more rounded tops. So that is also an example. And then more recently, this big sell-off that we had is starting to show that there is more bearish activity in the price as we are moving up. But yeah, you can see how these dips were bought up, and that's shown by these wicks. I mean, look how long some of these wicks are on the downside, and that's just an example of the price dropping, and then buyers quickly swooping in to pick up those dips. So that just shows you the power of some of the buying action underneath the price. So that's really bullish, and we're still seeing these large wicks at the bottom. So until they start running out, we can keep on keeping on and keep riding this wave. And just another point in that. So I think also people, they want to know the exact price to sell. Where do I sell all my Bitcoin at what specific price? And for me, that's just an absolute pipe dream, because the price is going to sell off so quickly. When we do get a sustained price drop, which is inevitable, that's a 26% drop in less than 2 days. So if you're even trying to pick a price, an exit point consistently, even within 20% of the absolute top, which sounds like a really big margin, but to do that consistently is going to be very unlikely. So my suggestion is to firstly determine your HODL position. So determine what's your baseline of Bitcoin that you're willing to hold for the long term, and then whatever's in excess to that, sell that off gradually. So as we hit different price targets, maybe it's as simple as saying at 40K, at 50K, at 60K, I'm going to be selling off chunks of my excess pot. Or maybe it's to say every 2 weeks, every 2 weeks I'm going to sell off an excess, the excess position. That for me is a logical, simple way that you can go about executing that type of strategy responsibly. But to think that you're going to sell 100% of your bags at the top of the market, that's just not realistic. So right now, this could potentially develop into a head and shoulders, which would be a very bearish situation. But you can see how big this right shoulder's got. So generally, what happens is that you get a big left shoulder, a head, and then a small right shoulder. That shows you that the bearishness is increasing, the bullishness is subsiding, and that would be quite a bearish pattern. But as this right shoulder grows, that scenario becomes less and less likely. So I think what is a more likely scenario is that you could get a big continuation pattern, and this would again be super bullish. If this does develop and we do move sideways for a bit longer, and we get something like this starting to develop, then I'm starting to get really bullish again. And it might take a little bit of time to develop, but that type of structure would be super powerful, because that means that we're now building up energy, we're taking stock. Participants in the market are recognizing that Bitcoin is at what some would consider very high valuation, above 30,000, and they're still willing to buy it. They're not willing to drop their positions at those levels. So once it has a little bit of market recognition, builds up some steam, and it breaks the top of this type of structure, then we go full bull again. And then you can look to load up really aggressively. For now, I think we go into some consolidation. So in the short term, my recommendation would be be patient, see how this plays out. If we do break up sooner, you may have to get bullish quicker. So if let's say we push through this previous high, then a retest of the previous high would be an attractive entry position. But generally, the market very often gives you a second chance. So it's typically unlikely that it goes through this level and then just powers straight through without giving you another opportunity to buy. That's generally unlikely. So the market often gives you a second bite at the cherry. So be patient, see how this plays out. And I think in the coming days and maybe week or two, you'll have a better idea of the type of direction. Right now, the market's still finding its feet at these levels, and for me, it's less certain about which direction we're going to go overall. So that's really the summary of my views at the moment.
All right, so that is, pretty, I wouldn't say strong bullish sentiment, but fairly bullish, certainly considering that what you talk about, that head and shoulders actually getting larger and potentially growing into that symmetrical triangle, as you highlight there. What about ETH? Graham, I see you have the ETH chart open.
Yes.
Are we going to see a similar pattern play out, or is there anything a little bit different on the ETH chart that actually is providing cause for excitement? Obviously, the big point to raise is that we haven't broken the all-time high on ETH as yet.
Yeah, 100%. So I've said a number of times that I am more bullish on ETH than Bitcoin, at least for the potential of upside price action. But the same can be said for the downside. ETH is more volatile, so it is going to move higher and faster than Bitcoin, generally speaking, all things equal, and obviously move downside with more impetus when we see sell-offs. one other thing to note is that when your institutions are moving into the market, they want liquidity. If they're going to bring $1 billion into the market, they need to look for the most liquid, most recognized coins or projects. Remember, if you're sitting around the boardroom table a year ago and you're the directors of your company trying to convince shareholders or whatever the case is to allocate to crypto, it's one thing to get Bitcoin across the line, but it's a completely different thing, or more of an effort to get them across the line for Ethereum or for some of the other projects out there. So potentially Ethereum I expect to come to the party later than Bitcoin, so I expect Bitcoin to lead, and that has been the case. It has led the price action, and then you see Ethereum then catching up, coming along for the ride, chasing after Big Brother as Bitcoin starts to set the pace. But 100%, we haven't even broken the all-time high. So whereas Bitcoin has broken and charged straight through previous highs of 2017. Just zoom back here for reference. That was the 2017 high here. We're charging higher. Ethereum hasn't even got there yet. And have a look at this. This is again the 3-day time period. So this is back to 2018. But look at this rounding bottom structure. It's a double bottom. I mean, that is just power. It's absolute power that's being built up here. It's had a long winter. There's been time for participants to accumulate. So again, we may need a couple of attempts to break through that all-time high. Potentially, we need a similar, symmetrical triangle setup, some consolidation for a period of time. But if we do get that type of structure and a break to the upside, I think Ethereum could really move in a lot more velocity and magnitude than Bitcoin. So yeah, I'm still super bullish on Ethereum. Is it the time to throw the kitchen sink at it right now? Probably not, given some of the really aggressive green candles you can see in recent periods now. So again, I think just be patient, wait a couple of days, week or two, see how this consolidation plays out. And if we're looking like we're knocking on the door to break through the all-time high at around $1,400, then I'll definitely be looking to allocate some more capital to Ethereum.
And I see you have another chart open there. I'm assuming that is a shitcoin chart of some kind.
Yes, it is. So to those that are maybe a little bit unfamiliar with some of the lingo, shitcoin is anything. Well, it's one of the smaller ICO type of projects, so they lump it in here. So FTX.
Yeah, yes, I see that's on FTX, which have really come to the party in terms of offering various crypto derivative options. Now, just very quickly, are they including Ethereum in that index?
I actually don't know. I just happened to have this chart open, so I wasn't actually planning on.
Well, my apologies. I saw it open. I couldn't help but have a question around it.
It is a really interesting chart, and and FTX has put together some really nice indexes. So I mean, this is really helpful because you don't. Let's say that you do want exposure to some of the small projects out there, and you don't want to go and buy 100 different coins to give yourself that exposure. You can just buy this index, and you get that broad exposure across the smaller projects. And I mean, the reality in here is that probably 90% of your coins are projects that I would expect that actually fail in the long term. But within here, there's going to be a couple absolute rock stars that shoot the lights out. So yeah, it's a really interesting way to be able to apply capital to that, let's call it that sector of crypto. But I mean, yeah, looking really bullish here as well. We don't have the same kind of price history as the other charts on this, but yeah, there's your Corona sell-off. I mean, that would have been pretty epic, given the volatility of your smaller coins. So that's almost 75% sell-off. But you can see more higher highs that we're breaking through. Just broke through a new higher high recently, higher lows. So I mean, even this is looking really, really strong. So yeah, I do think alt season is going to follow, and we've already seen some of the alts do incredibly well. So if you have a favorite project, yeah, as good a time as any, I think, to be allocating small amounts of your capital to some of the smaller projects that you may have in mind.
Now, Graham, we've got a couple of questions in the live stream. Paul, of course, Paul Francis is a pretty popular trader in our Telegram and WhatsApp groups. And Paul just wants to know if you look at the ETH BTC chart as well.
Yes, I do. So let's have a quick look. So what I expect to see here is, is a bullish setup for ETH in the longer term, given my view that ETH should go harder and further than Bitcoin. But let's just pull that up. Okay.
And just while you do that as well, there is a question which I'm going to ask at the same time, which is from LQ Kai. LQ Kai just wants to know about XRP or Cardano. I think LQ Kai, I would say, just hearing what Graham's spoken about that shitcoin index, generally other coins outside of Bitcoin and Ethereum are included in that kind of index. And so, as you heard from Graham, most of those other altcoins are pretty bullish as well in the medium to long term. But I think a key question though, Graham, is XRP. Obviously, with all the major FUD around XRP, a lot of people are concerned. Do you share those concerns?
Look, on a fundamental level, I haven't dived deep into some of the, let's call it FUD, for lack of a better term, around XRP. XRP has never been a buy and hold coin for me. If you look at a long-term XRP chart, it just consistently loses value and sells off over time, and then you have the odd super spike that once in a blue moon that makes all the headlines and gets everyone excited. So it's definitely something that you can take advantage of. I bought at different stages in recent times to basically ride that uptrend, but it's definitely not a buy and hold project in my opinion. At least that's what the technicals are telling me and what the charts are telling me in my assessment. So yeah, that's really my summary on XRP. Nice for a short-term trade. You don't really need any leverage to get value for your call because of the volatility in those upward moves. Not a bad coin. It was an excellent coin to short, during the Bitcoin winter. Short XRP, long Bitcoin was an exceptional trade in the Bitcoin winter. But then obviously you don't want to be caught long, short Ripple when it has one of its major spikes. So important to monitor your stop loss. So that's how I personally trade XRP. Buy when there's blood in the streets is obviously another term. So if you did buy some of the really aggressive sell-offs in XRP, you would have done pretty well. But yeah, not a buy and hold coin for me. And right now, I'm not really interested in trading it in the short term either.
Okay, fair enough. Hopefully that answers LQT's question. Now, interesting about ETH Bitcoin as well. If you're long ETH Bitcoin, in essence, you're short Bitcoin. That's a risky move.
Yeah, so if you want to trade this pair directly, then that's essentially what you are doing. But how I would use this chart, more broadly speaking, is when determining what split I want in my portfolio between Bitcoin and Ethereum. So in ordinary terms, Bitcoin is your safer bet. There's no doubt about that in my mind. It's created more adoption. It's the real OG of crypto, and that's the one that the institutions want. So it's a lot more secure in its position. Ethereum has got incredible potential, obviously, in the DeFi space, decentralized platforms, but all of those, the vast majority of those type of applications are still very much unproven and still have a lot of development, a lot of hurdles that they're going to need to jump through. Scaling, I mean, I've been looking at the DeFi space and the gas fees are quite scary at different times. So, but that's why it is more volatile, and that's why if they do pull it off, it's going to give you that bigger return. So broadly speaking, if I'm looking at my portfolio, I say I want let's say a 2/3 Bitcoin to one Ethereum allocation. Okay, so 60%, 66% of my funds go to Bitcoin, and 1/3 go to Ethereum. That's like a thumbs up starting position for me. But if I'm looking at this chart and I'm saying, well, look, this is just showing really bullish signs for Ethereum versus Bitcoin. Now I can start to say, well, look, let me shift my portfolio weighting more towards a 50-50 split. So I'm now overweighting Ethereum, underweighting Bitcoin compared to my standard benchmark type of template that I've put in place. So that's really how I use this. It's not to trade this specific pair directly. I mean, you can do that if you want, but that's how I would use it. So this pink zone, okay, well, let's start from the beginning. So this is a big falling wedge that we've got, massive falling wedge, which is typically a bearish pattern, but it takes a bullish pattern, but it takes time to play out. We've now broken out of that falling wedge with quite a lot of impetus. That was at the beginning of last year. Consolidation, we had another setup here, which is another chance to over allocate to Ethereum. Little bit of a squeeze, popped out the top. And then this pink zone, is, as you can see, is an important area of significance. So this price by volume shows that there's been a lot of price action at these levels. And this is a key level of resistance at the moment. Yes, we did poke through that level briefly, and maybe we can even expand this box because it's quite a broad range of historic trading here. So this is the crucial level that Ethereum needs to get through. Look at these big buying wicks. So that shows you there's a lot of bullishness on Ethereum when it did fall to those levels. So yeah, basically when we break through this pink zone here, again, generally you expect a retest of some type, and then I think it's again off to the races. And yeah, again, this chart is definitely speaking to bullishness of Ethereum or potential outperformance of Ethereum over Bitcoin on the bigger time frame.
All right. Well, that's actually really interesting to see that analysis as well, because for me, ETH leads the way in the altcoins. So that would signify that alt season has begun. I would say once we break out of that pink zone, which is now acting as a sort of resistance area, once we break out of that, I would say alt season could well be on the cards. That's my personal take from what you've just shown there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that one of the things we've seen with alt seasons in the past is sometimes the best conditions for alts to start really moving is for Bitcoin to be moving sideways. Because when Bitcoin really starts to run hard, then often you get a sell-off of the alts just to hold Bitcoin.
That's right.
So Bitcoin can move sideways, for a decent period of time at these levels. Now that everyone's got excited and it's made the headlines and everyone's got their eyes on the crypto world, if some of the attention is taken off Bitcoin as it consolidates and finds its feet at these new record levels, then it gives license for allocation to the alts and your shitcoin index and the like. So yeah, definitely something to keep an eye on, this specific index here, because this is also, if you're seeing bullish signs here, then that's the green light to start allocating to your favorite small projects.
Well, Graham, thanks so much. That's been a nice long one today. We really needed that, but extremely comprehensive. And now that we're back in the swing of things, we're all back in the office after a nice long festive period. Hopefully we can do this more regularly. Thank you.
Yeah, 100%. Enjoy that, James. And exercise caution, when allocating, but it's been a great move. And let's do this more regularly to keep the guys up to date about when, as things develop.
Absolutely. Graham, thanks so much. We really appreciate your time today. And to everyone else, thanks for tuning in, for all the questions and for your views. We really appreciate it. Don't forget that this episode is proudly sponsored by Haven Global. If you're a long-term investor and you want to trade some big quantities of Bitcoin or Ethereum, then check them out, havenglobal.com, and you can do OTC trading with their world-class, innovative, pioneering online OTC desk and get personalized service with them, havenglobal.com. From myself, James, and Graham Tennant, it's goodbye for now. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers for now.
Cheers, guys.